we will lean into job titles.
Andrea, you coming in hot. They love a job title.
We love a job title, particularly. So I'm talking to my folks that have been in companies. They're feeling nice. They're sitting nice. That check is nice.
Listen,
10 plus, 15 years or something. You're like, oh, this place doesn't run without me. It does.
Curiosity and comfort is in a constant battle of who you are and where you want to be. Exploring the definitions that was handed to us and the ones we've adopted and the few we've assumed to be normal without question. Hi, my name is Sanika and welcome to How Do You Divine, where we explore the definitions that have defined our life one word at a time. And on this journey, we, yes, you and I, collaborate at the intersection of culture, intellect, and spirituality. Welcome to How Do You Divine? I'm your host, Sanika. This is Season 4, Designed and Not Drifted. Exploring what are we designing in the life that we desire versus drifting into what happens to us. Every episode, we shake through one word, we turn it over slowly, but a little bit rough to see if that definition that we accepted is the one that fits today. Today, we talk pivot. Where most people hear a crisis, we are reframing it as a design. A pivot is not a retreat, it's a recalculation. Who gets to pivot? We also unpack that cultural weight. Who was taught to stay, and staying meant strength? Today, we talk to Andrea Wade. Andrea is a founder, chief brand manager of Diamond Brand Amplification, where she helps businesses and individuals sharpen how they show up for the audiences that matter the most. She also founded the Pivot Lab, a platform built to help experienced professionals navigate career transitions with confidence. And her path has never been straight. And that's the point. She now helps people navigate in those pivotal moments most of us were taught to fear. The crossroads, the re-collaboration, her own career is proof of concept. Consulting at Deloitte, author Andersen, retail data at Mattel, multicultural marketing at Bank of America, the list goes on. Years of being an agent at the Creative Artist Agency. Then she built her own. She holds a BA in International Relations from Tufts, an MBA from UCLA. So I'm not saying she just walked the walk. She also has the credentials to talk the talk. She doesn't treat a pivot like a crisis. She treats it like it's a design. Andrea, welcome to How Do You Divine?
Well, thank you. After all that, I think I have to pull you in as a publicist or something. I'm like, so I appreciate that introduction.
Yes,
and happy to be here.
Yes, you are so welcome. I feel like your journey is one that we can also admire and want to sit on the passenger seat of, right? Because through each and every pivot, I know there were so many lessons that you learned along the way. So first and foremost, when you hear pivot, what's one thing that stands out to Andrea?
Yeah, I like how you mentioned in the introduction, so many times people think, okay, pivot, something has gone wrong, or it's a crisis or something. And I think pivots are opportunities. I mean, we have, as individuals, we have so many interests, and we go through so many stages in our lives, just with different transitions and everything. So I think pivot is what gives us the ability to make sure that everything is in sync with where we happen to be at that particular time.
Yeah, because life happens. You change in every single season of life. But I think, especially as women, we feel like one has to stay stable in order for the other to thrive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just opening, you've built a body of work around helping people navigate major transitions. But I wanted to start with, what was one pivotal moment in your life that made you go, maybe it's time to make a switch?
Yeah. And I think what's really timely right now, because actually I look back at it now and I realize our lives are just a series of pivots. But I think in the sense of what led to the Pivot Lab and how I'm focusing on things right now and just the time that we're in, where there's so much transition just in the world of work, it was a layoff.
Yeah.
So and I think the first time that anyone experiences that, if some people never do, and
Mhm.
that's great, but particularly when you've been raised to be so clear and focused and driven on one accomplishment and going from one goal to the next, one position to the next, or being promoted, and then when layoffs happen, which aren't necessarily tied to performance. They're
Yeah.
tied to the performance of the business and whatever management needs to do, but it still impacts you very personally, and
Yeah.
it can feel like a rejection. I have experienced a couple of layoffs due to different reasons. I was at a startup company that didn't survive. I feel like I
Yeah.
was at one of the early e-commerce companies, or another time different management comes in, or just those things. So I don't remember which time it was, I'd left a company. I'd left Deloitte to
Mhm.
take a particular position, and maybe 3 months into it, we got new management for that department,
Mm.
who decided he wanted to make a change to the team, and I was out. That particularly because I left a job that I enjoyed,
Yeah.
I just wanted a different challenge, and that lack of control. And they were just, I was like, you know what, I will not be in this position again. Not meaning that I wouldn't be
Be
laid
laid
off,
off
but
again.
just meaning that I am going to need to look at things differently, like either so that I anticipate it or so that I know it's like, okay,
Mhm.
this is where I'm going. This is what I can do either in the interim or on the way to my next thing. And I think that was it. That just that, and if you talk to anyone who's been laid off, that lack of control that you have and that
Yeah.
fear that comes with that, that's where it's like, I will always either have things going on parallel, or I'll be able to pretty quickly
Pivot.
pivot to something else.
New.
So it started as a reactionary move.
Mhm.
And then as I moved on in my career, I thought about it more as like, no, this can be more intentional for people. And I don't think a lot of professionals really think about it
that.
in
Yeah.
that context, in
That
terms
it's a
of
muscle.
exactly, that it is absolutely a muscle that you build, because change, I don't care if you're
Listen.
what age you are, it's scary. Even someone
Yeah.
can have their perfect, what they think is their perfect opportunity presented right in front of them, and they're still going to be scared.
Yeah.
And that's just human nature. So I think when you look at it as like, the whole idea with pivots, and how I approach it is, following your curiosity, you can connect the things. Skills are transferable, all of that. I mean, there's a way to do it. So you'll still be a little nervous, but you won't necessarily be anxious, because you're getting information along the way in terms of if this is right for you.
That's a good one. I think you touched on it really well around being nervous opposed
Mhm.
to being fearful, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think when we are in layoffs or you see things happening in the economy or in the
Mhm.
news, and there's so much about your life that quite literally is outside of
Yeah.
your control,
Right.
right?
Right.
That you are just adapting to over
Mhm.
life. How do you help both professionally and personally your clients move away from fear and be okay with being nervous
Yeah.
and
So
differentiate between the two?
no, absolutely. So now, and I would say there's definitely a subtle shift, I would say, in the past year or 2 years, particularly as layoffs have been on the rise. So ideally, when someone is deciding they want to make a pivot, they're doing it from a place of confidence and security,
Mm-hmm.
versus reacting. So you can make pivots in both instances. I in If someone has been laid off, a lot of times they are reacting, and that's slightly different, because we have to look at the real things, like,
Yeah.
what's your
Bills is due.
financial, what's your financial runway, can you take care of things. So where I've slightly shifted in terms of who I'm working with now, is getting the people who are, in a sense, feeling safe, because if you're in a corporate job, no one's safe. Yeah,
That part.
So it is like, so if you're feeling safe, but you are paying attention to signs around you, not so that you're you're reacting and you're paranoid, but so that, okay, you can see, wow, this department just got new leadership, or they're doing a reorg over there, or there's talk about getting a new CEO. You can see the different things that maybe indicate that there's going to be change that impacts you, and not that you have to leave the company, but you're starting to prepare and think about, well, what would I do if? So you're coming from a position of power. So pivot in the sense of like, things are changing here. Maybe I'll be here and I'll be fine with the changes, or maybe I won't like some of the changes, or maybe change will impact me and I'll be out. How can I take steps to prepare in advance?
Yes. You know what I love that you mentioned that I want to pull out is that awareness piece.
Yes.
I think sometimes when you're at a corporate job or anywhere, you become so accustomed to your everyday that you are no longer aware. Right? It kind of falls back to your subconscious. And like you just said, if there's new leadership in one department, start to evaluate your own department. Like I want to pull that out for our listeners to hear, especially if you work at a public company. Right?
Especially if you, a public company is the perfect example, because you'll hear things when you're in there. Oh, we have earnings. We have, pay attention. I don't care what level you are, get on that earnings call and hear what they say, because they have to disclose all the things. And you may not understand all of the information, but then ask someone or go online.
Listen.
You're like, right now, put it in the chat.
Listen.
And just be like, hey, what does this mean?
Become aware.
Become aware, because they will say things in there like, hey, well, we're a little worried. There's a competitor over here, or we didn't make earnings last quarter. We're projecting we're going to be short, or the stock price is down. All of these things that are indicators of like, they're going to have to make certain changes.
Yes.
You know, so, and if they're saying, oh, this product didn't perform, and that's the department you're in.
Exactly. One thing I love about that sense of awareness, because I talk about it a lot, both professionally and personally. Nobody's bigger than the program.
No.
No one's bigger than the company. No one's bigger than their stock prices. No one's bigger than the program. So how do you create your own program, both professionally and personally, that you're ready for a pivot wherever that may happen?
And so it starts with, okay, do you really understand your skill set? Okay, because we will lean into job titles.
Andrea, you coming in hot.
I'm telling you, you know, so like these,
they love a job title.
We love a job title, particularly. So I'm talking to my folks that have been in companies. They're feeling nice. They're sitting nice. That check is nice.
Listen,
10 plus 15 years or something. You're like, oh, this place doesn't run without me. It does. You know, so and you're like, well, I'm the VP of such and such. Okay, the outside world doesn't know what that is. The outside world doesn't know what that means. And probably in the years that you've been there, you have taken on other responsibilities. You have other skills that aren't indicated by your job title. So let's zero in on that. Are you clear on what your actual skills are? Now, the ones that you're good at and you enjoy, because you maybe have a lot of skills that you don't necessarily want to take with you, but what are your skills? And then with those skills, what value do you drive? Like, can you articulate that? Because that's the thing. People been in companies 10, 15 years. They speak the language
of the company and the company only, not the industry.
Not the industry, not anything, so that someone external, because if your industry is crumbling and you need to pivot, your skills are transferable. Okay.
I love that you just said that. And I want to stop you there because honestly, with AI, there is not an industry that has not seen some sense of turnover, some sense of evolution or change. Even in the blue collar industry, they are now leveraging technology in a different way, right? So how do you help people create that, you know, that cold pitch of who am I without the title? How do you help people say that? So, because sometimes, unfortunately, we become our professional personas.
Yes.
We forget who we are as individuals. You're the mom, you're the husband, you're the friend, you're the sister, you're the brother. That you only lean into this title. You can only speak to the skills that are morphed under this title. You can't even speak to who you are holistically. How do you help people navigate that way?
And so what you're getting into is the whole identity and an individual's identity being tied to their job or their title. So I actually, one of the the offerings that I'm working on now, that I'm in pilot on, because I do one-on-one coaching, but what I realize is that there's a greater need, and I call it executive visibility.
Yep.
So working on the executive visibility, and the Pivot Blueprint helps to do that. And a key thing is, let's start with intake. And it was like, what are all the things that you've done? What have been the results that you've delivered? Like, I'm starting from that. And sometimes people still don't necessarily get the concept of what I'm asking or what I'm talking about. So what I have something called the Executive Blind Spot Report, which asks a series of questions to help people do their own diagnostic of like, okay, am I at risk? Like, if I were outside of my company tomorrow, can I articulate what I do, and can I demonstrate my value?
Nice.
So that's the key thing, is immediately for people to just wake up and go, oh gosh, if I'm talking to someone in a different industry and I just tell them my title, they don't get it.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. And I can't explain that Project Apollo, which was super success in the company, no one knows what Project Apollo is.
Can you even give someone context outside of the room that you're in?
Outside of the room.
You're hitting
like
gems.
Real gems.
And
I would talk to you. So like, it's the process. So I know these different steps and stages. So yeah, we have a process where we do the intake, and it was like, you give us the information. So because then from there, I can spit it back to you and say, oh, okay, because you need, what I'm basically helping them to create is a bridge narrative.
Yes.
You need a bridge narrative that's basically, so if you're in the elevator, you and I are talking, we're at a conference or something, I can explain to you what I do. There's that bridge narrative, then you get it. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Mm-hmm. So when you have the bridge narrative, then the next piece is, okay, do you have that pitch, that blurb? Because you've been working for 20 plus years, you have a great network, but maybe you haven't been in touch with them. Or if you wanted to reach out because you just heard, oh wow, Sanika got this great position at this company and I want to talk to her. And what are you going to say in your email? How are you going to give the 2 to 3 sentences about what you're doing? And it was like, people get locked on that. So what I'm trying to do is to get people to have those assets.
Yes, ready to go.
Before they need it. Like, let's do it now. This is what I call, I'm calling, like, this is the whole package. This is career insurance. Okay.
Yes.
People have homeowners insurance.
Career insurance.
Career insurance.
Come on.
Look, we're branding this.
I love this.
Yes.
A career insurance.
Career insurance, because people aren't thinking like that. It's just like, they're thinking, oh, I'm 20 years at the VP and such, and that's my career insurance. Nobody knows about that.
See, I love this. I love the concept of career insurance, but I always say, right, as a millennial, right, as an older millennial, I say that our generation is the bridge. The bridge for our grandparents and generations beyond us, and our kids and then theirs. That, to me, the concept of a career insurance is so heartwarming, right? Oh, okay. Because I know my mother's generation and her mother's generation was taught, get a job, keep the job, don't leave the job.
That was the insurance.
Be quiet, be easily palatable, and that was the insurance, which... The undergirth of all of that is be easy to accept, be tolerable, do as they say, don't have any boundaries. And that will, quote unquote, secure your role, which we've learned is not a real thing. It's not a real thing. So here we are today, evolving those narratives, saying, no. Build your own career insurance, right? Because I love an audit now. I'm big on self-accountability. So I feel like I just want to capture some of those gems that you're saying, which is one, what skills do you have independent of your title and your company? Because a lot of people lead with that. I'm X, Y, and Z from this big company everybody knows. Nobody knows what that is, right? So have your audit. Stay mindful, be aware of what's happening in not just your company, your industry.
Right.
And build your own career insurance. Come on.
Career insurance. And that's being able to articulate what you do, be able to articulate the value that you deliver, be clear on, it was like, these are my strengths. This is the type of environment or situation I'm operating in, so that when you're talking to anyone, because you're in the position right now, you're at your company, you're okay. Things maybe, bodies
going
are dropping
great,
on the, things are going okay for you. Bodies are dropping on the side of you, but you're holding on. But you can talk to people, and you should start re-engaging with your network, because then you can also update your LinkedIn and your different things, because the first thing someone's going to do when you reach out to them and they haven't heard from you in 5 years is they're going to check your LinkedIn. So make sure your LinkedIn says what you do
and what you want to do.
Use that bridge narrative, like to kind of craft the about, like everything is working together, because then you've had you have that through line.
Yeah.
And that people get it. And as soon as they get it, and when you can say, hey, this is what I'm this is what I'm good at, these are my strengths, and then when they get it and it clicks, they're like, oh, you should talk to so and so.
Yeah.
So, and it just, it's the domino. It's the domino, and it keeps leading to different things. So all of that for me kind of stems from wanting people to have control.
Yes, of your own life.
Of your own lives.
Design
and of
your
own
life.
profession. And to not be like, there's a thing that, it's always been a thing, but you see it now more on LinkedIn, where people, especially with the layoffs, and people are talking about the age bias, and age bias is real.
Girl,
I'm Gen X,
listen,
I'm Gen X.
got there. I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so there is age bias, but I'm just like, but there's racism and there's sexism too. And I was like, and so particularly for women of color, it was like, if we've been dealing with certain things
for a long time
since we stepped out of academia, and it was like, so you get to this point and you're tired.
Andrea, when I tell you, you went exactly where my heart was going.
Yes.
Because listen, as a Caribbean girl, we call them big woman friend. I love a big woman friend. Okay,
what is it?
It's called a big woman friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's usually someone who's like 10, 20 years older than you that you're very close with.
Yeah.
And we call them big woman friends.
Yes.
And so when you were saying these things about the audit and like, audit your skills, know who you are. I know so many women who I love would be like, Sanika, that's a lot of work. I've worked so long and so hard to accomplish what I've accomplished. And now you asking me to do all these new things and this AI and the LinkedIn, all for what?
And I don't want them to tap out. But the thing is, because we can't tap out.
Yes.
It was like, so there's so many, because they, them, they're friends of mine. They're women that it was like, they
are brilliant.
Need to work for 5 to 10 more years.
Yes, and they're
like,
brilliant.
They need to work.
And they're sharp. Like, yes, they're need financial. The financial need is one thing, but genuinely and sincerely brilliant
have a lot of
people.
Have a lot of value to deliver. Have a lot, but it's kind of that hybrid, like you said, with your big woman friends, where they're just like, oh, I don't want to do all that. This is why I'm developing this. It was like, no, you do this part, I will do that part.
Yes.
Then you have something to react to.
Yes.
Because that's it. I don't want people tapping out. Like, and it stemmed from, I'm watching smart, intelligent women, like you're saying, who get it done, who are so discouraged right now because the market isn't responding to them. And so they're in a little bit of a different situation. Maybe they've already been impacted by a layoff, or they're underemployed, so different things. So it's a confidence thing. This also helps your confidence, because when you go through that and you realize, oh, I'm kind of that girl, so.
And has always been.
Have always been, but you need to remind yourself, and then you're like, oh, okay, because maybe you stayed in that job, even though you didn't get the promotion, you're not getting paid what you should be paid, and so you're a little nervous to leave. And it was like, and you do this work, you go through this process, and you realize, wow, and you don't have to leave yet. Like I'm working with someone right now. We started it because, just to give she's in the legal field. She's a paralegal. Obviously, that's an area that's being hugely disrupted by AI. We started working kind of right at the rise of that, at least for the general consumers like us. And I remember sharing with her, and she's like, well, how does this apply to me? And then slowly she started seeing her company and things that they were doing. I was like, look, none of us know where this is going. I was like, but where you will be ahead of things is because if you embrace it and all of that. And long story short, I mean, she's getting asked to be a part of these different task force. There's how it will play out. There will be a position that is created for you. And that's exactly what's happening now.
I love that because I think at first people were very afraid. As someone who works in technology, was very afraid of AI. They're like, oh, they're gonna lose jobs. There will be jobs eliminated, but there'd be so many more created because what people don't realize is AI could just take you but so far.
Right.
That human intuition, that in-person conversation, there are so many elements that AI could never touch in every field, especially technology.
Yeah, exactly. Legal, all of that. Like yes, they can look at whatever the precedents.
It can scan some documents,
translate
it can
the laws,
summary,
all of
it
that,
can do all of those
but
things.
They don't know how to deliver the information to
a human being,
to the attorney who has to go service the client, and because this client only likes things in this particular way, or whatever the nuances are. So that is where like I don't want people to self-select and just feel like, you know what, I'll just get whatever, because now's not the time. You can't just get whatever.
Yeah.
Things are changing quickly. And it was like, and don't shortchange yourself.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, and do it from a position of strength and confidence, and more so, like you say, if you have the assets before you need it, it's still uncomfortable, but you're ahead of the game. Because what happens, people are, and we're just talking about pivots right now, obviously in the professional sense, but
even
when
personally,
people, but even personally, when there is a trigger, then usually there's the moment of like, oh shoot, what do I do now? And the whole idea of a pivot is that you're not off balance, because like, even if you think of pivot in terms of like basketball or something, the whole thing is one foot is planted.
Yes.
So where we're planting you is in this preparation and in the work, so that you can go in the different
angles,
different directions and whatever that you can without throwing your back out or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like you're ready to go.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. Because now that you think about it, people actually don't see pivots for what they are. You do actually have to be planted in a place to make a pivot.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's just culturally, we feel like a pivot mean a quick shift. You're jumping from here,
like,
you're jumping.
That's a jump. Like that.
They're like, I'm leaving it in the ground.
Yeah. Like, no. It was a pivot.
Yes.
So. Hey, jumping in here really quick. We're building a community of curious women who are challenging the status quo in a way that does not diminish our health, both mentally and emotionally, through words that carry us every single day. Hi, I'm Sanika. First, thank you for stumbling on the show and taking the time to listen. Every single listen, comment, like, share, I truly appreciate from the bottom of my heart. This community is something that I've always wanted to nurture and build in a way that doesn't challenge us to do more, show up better, but to do the work internally, to build community, to laugh, to live with each other. So if that's you, please subscribe, send me a comment, reach out to me personally. You can find me on all social media platforms as Tanika Nikki. And let's get back to the show. Thank you.
So how do you help people find solace in where they should be grounded, right? Both professionally and personally. Yeah. That's why I think it's important for us to be solid in where we are grounded.
Absolutely. And it ties into values.
Yeah.
So values, particularly in kind of your stage of life. I mean, your general values or things are going to stay the same, but the order.
Yeah.
The order may shift, at a certain stage of your life. The boundaries always be critical, but it was like flexibility might be more key because you have younger children or something, or opportunity or a challenge might be more important because it was like, hey, you're rising in your career or something. Whereas in another one, it's fulfillment, like you want to feel like you're giving back, or you're in a position to nurture more. And so environment or who your colleagues are or something, and or how you're received is maybe more important. You might be more willing to tolerate certain things at one stage than you are at another. So when you're clear on those things, so then you can look to your skill set, and that's when people start letting certain things go. And it's just like, yeah, I did that for 10 years. It almost killed me, made me good money. I don't want to do that anymore. But like, I these are the things I'd like to do going forward because, X, Y, Z. So I think really, so there's a process like that I start with, and then I always suggest, and your audience can definitely take this. It was like, I think you start with reflect.
Yeah.
So from wherever you are, like reflect on what you've done up to that point, in personal and professional experiences, and what have you really enjoyed, what has been consistent, what are the things that you realize it was like, wow, you had a reaction to, you never want to do again. Okay, so getting clear, going through that reflect phase,
Yeah.
and it was like, and what stands out, kind of the positives and the negatives, and then from there you can go into research. So if you're looking at like from the positive things, it was like, oh, I've always really liked media
Yeah.
or something, and I've done it with my sorority or whatever, but I haven't done it professionally. And so then you start researching, well, what would be some things that I could explore here? How would I get versed in this or something? Or you just start to research. And these are things people can do
Yeah.
when they're in a job. You don't have to be unhappy with your job or looking to leave, but you're just like, you're curious.
Exploring.
You're exploring. You're curious.
Yes.
Okay. So then you do the research, and that could be talking to people.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I want to talk to this person. That's an interesting title. I really like that company. Let me see who I can talk to, so that's part of the research. Then you get that information, and again, you from the reflex stage, your strengths and skills and interests and whatever. Then the next stage is like, okay, well, how do I reframe? Meaning you repackage, you're reframing your own experience based on where you're thinking you want to go. It's like, okay, it was like, these are my skills, these are how I reframe it. But this is also the point when you go, okay, I'm reframing, maybe I need to go volunteer over here with this organization, or I'm going to help my friend out who's launching a business, and I'm going to do the marketing for her because I want to learn more about
and go into that direction.
I want to learn more about digital marketing, and so this will give me more things to talk about. Or I'm going to take this online course, so I learn the terminology, whatever it is. This is all part of the reframe,
Nice.
the reframe, and then relaunch. So that is like, you've repackaged, like, but you can go to your contacts. You can go to people like, oh, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. And like, you're already living it in a sense, even if you had to do it on the side because your job was totally different. So that's another type.
I love that framework.
Way to explore the pivot. Again, if like, because you're not always doing it because you think, hey, things are going in my company, I need to get out of here.
You can just be doing
You're just
it.
curious.
Yes, and follow that curiosity.
Yes,
so in this
exactly.
season of us talking about a life design versus a life drifted, I've sensed this I want to say overarching restriction in a lot of the conversations with women saying, well, but I want to have it all.
Mm-hmm.
And as a woman who's gone through all the things with kids and careers and all the things, my husband, I always say that that's a nice statement, but you can't have it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And with your framework, it also made me think of that same line of I want to have it all, because I think everyone has this euphoric expectation of life until they get through lessons and seasons. How do you help people realize it's not about having it all, but it's about having what you want right now? Like what do you need right now? Because what I loved about the framework was I'm reflecting. I'm looking back on what I did and what I loved and what was great. Then I'm looking at what I actually liked. Because what you like today, this year, next year, could be so different 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
So how do we like rip away this have it all,
right.
because all changes in every season,
Right.
and say, what do I need right now? What do I want right now?
And a key first step is just even allowing yourself to ask that question. So because so many times it's like we're on that treadmill of like, okay, I'm in this role, I'm progressing, I'm getting my promotions, and everyone who means well, who loves us and everything, they're like, that's great, keep going. And they don't know that you don't want to keep going. So they don't know, and you don't want to disappoint them.
Yes. But you okay disappointing yourself. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. And it was like, so this is why another key thing is community. And so when you start doing this research is why I really encourage people to get out and to talk to others, because your family and your loved ones who are well-intentioned, they don't know anything about where you're trying to go. You don't know. Like you're trying to figure it out. So, but
At the same time, you trying to tell other people,
Yeah, and at the
why
same
not
time-
just do the work
Yeah.
internally and do your thing on the side,
but
get
you
a
know,
little
and
journal.
You trying to tell mom or auntie or your husband or something that it was like, I want to do this thing and I don't know. And they're looking at you and they're a little nervous. But when you come to them and say, oh, I talked to so-and-so and this, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. They feel your energy. They feel your confidence. And they're like, that sounds amazing.
Yes. And a lot of
they
times
will
we get
support you.
stuck in our investments.
Yeah. Sunk cost.
Oh,
Sunk
Andrea,
cost.
it was in here. It was in here for us to talk about.
Okay. Sunk costs. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
who you were at
Mm-hmm.
20, 19, 30, 40, you invested in
Absolutely.
this business, this degree, and this thing. And now
Mhm.
you feel like, I invested too much. I can't leave. If I tell my mom, my husband, my kids that I'm leaving, they're going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah. No, it's so, and this is when you really have to think about like the passing of time,
Mhm.
so because it's so people, what's the saying? I'm gonna get it all mixed up, but it was like they underestimate what they can get done in 10 years or overestimate what they can get done in a year, something like that. But the whole idea is that even if you just think about like to 5 years ago
Yeah.
and how much you accomplished.
Yeah.
And it was like, so if someone were to just be like, I want to do a complete 180 from where I am right now, if you have the steps and the plan, and then you start taking the small steps, you'll be able to accomplish amazing things like in a year, not even just in 5 years.
Yeah.
But people aren't thinking
Because
about
of
that.
fear.
The fear. Well, it's like because something that we have, we always attribute more value to it because we already have it.
Something we already have. We
It's-
contribute
we don't
more
wanna give it up.
value to it.
We don't want to give it up. Think about like the ratty T-shirt that you have. Or some
Yeah.
people are really good at getting rid of clothes, but think about your closet or something
Yeah.
like that. And there could be that dress, whatever
that I've held on for so many years.
You
And it's,
paid good money for that dress.
oh my gosh, this
You-
is
and
so true.
You are like,
Oh.
I am not letting go of this dress.
I know people who do that with furniture, who do it with so many things,
And we
and
do
it's
it
just
with
like
life.
And I'm just sitting here like you use your money worth. Like,
Yeah. But we do. So when you say it was like, but I invested, I spent so much time doing it's the
man.
same thing.
It is the same thing, but I also
Yeah.
I see it on both sides. I'm empathetic to
Yeah.
the person who feels like I spent 10 years,
Mhm.
X amount of years building a career or building this
Right.
life in this direction.
Mm.
How do I even face myself in the mirror, much less other people,
Right.
and say, I want to go a different way?
Well, so this is the thing, because a lot of that, when you're saying it's coming from fear, it's coming from fear because people are thinking that they're throwing everything away. I'm throwing it all
Yes.
out. You're not. You're absolutely not. So again, if we go back to the process, be it like the pivot blueprint, or even just like that the research, the reflect and research, there are skills and things that you acquired. It was like,
Yes.
I don't care. You could have been an attorney. You were an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, and you want to go do something else. There were the skills that you acquired, and guarantee there are skills that you can take away that are going to help you in that next endeavor. Yes, maybe it's not the same level, like immediately of like, okay, yes, you were an attorney making $500,000, whatever it was. I was like, but you can see a path.
Yes,
Like,
and
and you
see a
start to build
path
that path.
forward.
Yes.
That is so great because I don't think we see skills that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think for some reason we feel like skills only exist where they are now. Right? If I learn to negotiate a deal for this
it's
person,
not about skills. It's about title. It's like, I'm a lawyer. It was like, no. Break down, because if I didn't know what a lawyer was, tell me what a lawyer does. Like, let's break all that down.
yes.
And it was like, in which of those things are
Yes, and I'm a mom to
transferable.
3 kids, and I worked full
Yeah.
time, and I navigated
So-
schedule,
so
and I
what does
did
that
this.
exactly?
Like we don't own
different
skills.
personalities
Yes.
and all of this. Yes.
I'm coming from a big family. I navigate.
I'm negotiating all the time, so
Yes.
I'm managing the budget, so
Yes.
Yeah. So there are all those things that, again, when you identify the skills, it helps to give you the confidence so that then you can have your bridge narrative, you can have your conversations, your dialogue with your people, so that you can get certain opportunities. Like,
Yes.
the attorney who's thinking, oh, I want to go into marketing. It was like, okay, well, so where are you doing marketing now? Are you doing marketing for the Lawyers Association? Are you doing, did you get involved with the conference? Like,
Where are you
getting
gonna step
different-
out?
Where are you getting different experience so that you can speak to certain things?
But it's a process. And I
It's a
love that we're
process.
talking about the process,
It's a
right?
process.
Separating yourself from the title, first and
Yeah,
foremost.
because that's not your identity. But for so many of us, like that is like it's the symbol
Blam.
to our parents. Like, oh, your grandmother or something can say, oh, my daughter is a such and such, is a VP
Yes.
here, whatever. And then when you have to explain to Nana that, like, well, I'm an entrepreneur, she's like, baby, what's that?
What's
it
that?
mean? Yeah, like,
And you came over here and
who-
asked for 2
who
plates
pays
instead
you?
of 1.
Yeah, like who pays you? Like all I know is you not going into the office.
Yes.
Yeah. That is different because
Yes.
like it was like, oh, I know I used to make decisions by that. I was like, I need to be able to like give my grandmother a business card or something.
Yes.
So and then she's like has something to tell the ladies at church.
Yes.
So-
She can't just go tell her my baby knitting
yeah,
now.
like,
What?
Like, like what is consulting or does something on the internet? I don't know what that is. So
But it's so funny because
Yeah.
often people can't say what they do outside the company in their
Yeah.
title.
Yeah.
Talk me through your day.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Making it
Yes.
so simple because sometimes you get
Mhm.
so inundated, you start to drift in
Mhm.
your every single day. You know how to do the job with your eyes closed. You can just
Right.
walk through it.
right.
But you're drifting away from what you designed and you are not even noticing that you've acquired all these skills
Yes.
that weren't even listed in the job description
Right.
when you first took it.
Yeah.
So-
Or these things that they gave you, these responsibilities, because you're like, oh, you so good at this. Here, take this too.
Exactly. And you took it on. You
Mhm.
learned these new skills.
Mhm.
You've adapted. You've grown teams. You've done all these things. But now, let's just say I'm becoming more aware. I'm seeing what's happening in the world.
Mhm.
I'm seeing what's going on.
Mhm.
Do I talk more about the title? Do I talk more about the company? I always go, why don't you just talk about your skills or talk about who you are?
Mhm.
Because so much can be learned over time. Like I'm a lifelong learner. I always joke, I'm a
Yes.
happy little nerd.
Yeah.
Please throw information my way.
Right,
Give me the most
right,
complex
right,
thing you
right.
got. I'm
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But some people are happier
Right.
in more stable things. I do X, I do Y, I do Z, I get this outcome.
Mhm.
So talk to me about X. Talk
Yeah.
to me about Y.
Right.
And
right.
why does Z even matter?
Right.
And how do we get to a place where we encourage women to have those conversations with themselves
Yes.
first,
Yes.
and then be able to have it openly with friends and then family, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you're more comfortable with this
Right,
this
right.
framework you're sharing with us.
No, it's absolutely critical, and I think a key thing is for women in particular to allow themselves to think that there is could be something different or something better.
Yes.
Like, because a lot of times it's not that they're, like you say, it was like there are people who's like they've done the same job or in a similar type environment 15, 20, 25 years. There comes a point for some of them, and it's just a matter of if they've articulated it, where they're saying, I want something different and I don't know what it is. Like, and if they get to that point, it was like, okay, then we're in business. Like, cause then there's that kernel, like the light peeking through. And then if they can drill down on more, it was like, well, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Like, so then it's not tying it to work, but it's tying to what does more mean? Because it's different for people. For some, it's like, well, I want to have more recognition. I want to have more autonomy.
Yeah.
I want to have, so, and then based on that, then it's
You
like
build
you can
around
start
that.
taking different action, so, but the first thing is allowing yourself to wonder,
Yeah.
to
And
be
giving
curious.
yourself that permission, which is sad
Yes.
to say, but sometimes we see that crack.
Yeah.
We feel it internally. We're like, this doesn't really fit the way it used to fit.
Mhm.
I don't really feel comfortable doing this. But you have bills,
it's
you have
good, it's
kids, you
okay.
have
Yeah.
responsibilities, and
Mhm.
you're like, I don't have the room
Mhm.
to say I no longer want to do this.
Well, and so the one thing, and a lot of times those women are just like, oh, all the things, and they're really good and well respected at their job, but they're wanting something more. There are usually things they can and should say no to. And that's where we start. We start with looking around. It was like, okay, so what's your day? What's your day look like? What's your week look like? What are you doing? What are your tasks? And then I usually hear that it was like, oh, I'm on this committee, and oh, I'm on that.
Girl, I'm helping
And
this
I'm just
person.
like-
I'm doing this.
And I'm just like, okay, why are you doing that? Well, because I've done it for 5 years, whatever. I have literally worked with people to help them to say, it's like, okay, and so how are you
gonna stop.
How are you going to say no to that? Because first they need to make space. You can't be creative and dream if you're exhausted.
Gem drop in. I feel like that was such a mic drop statement. As someone who has lived it and understand it deeply, that is a big moment, you know, that you have to realize time is currency.
Yes.
And if you only have $24, and let's just be for real, really 8 of them, we want to be sleeping.
Right.
All right. You know?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the rest of that currency in your day?
Right.
And you're so right. We drift into saying yes to things that we've just been saying yes to, and the kids and this and this. And, yes. How do you make space to be whole?
You have to make space, at least for you to even begin to think about other things, be it at work, getting off of those committees.
Yes.
You know, stop being the person that plans everything.
Yes.
You know, so let
hand it off to somebody else.
Let someone else do it, just so you can get out of their time. You can eat your lunch and just eat your lunch.
Yeah.
And kind of think, or maybe read something.
Give yourself space to be well.
You have to make space. You have to make space for ideas to come in.
Yes. Well, we had such an amazing conversation today. I can talk to you forever.
Yes, absolutely.
But I want to leave you with this one thing. We've talked so much about mindset and, you know, understanding the difference between being nervous and being fearful. And if our listeners had to do one thing to prepare their minds, their hearts, their spirit to a pivot, what would be that one thing?
I would challenge them to zero in on what they're curious about. Like, what are you curious about in the context of your life, your personal life, your professional? What are you curious about? And at the same time, what are you looking at and nervous about? So, for example, like with AI or something, maybe you need to get a little closer to it.
Yeah. Lean into the things that make you uncomfortable.
That make you nervous and that you're curious about.
Love it.
See where it leads you. See where it leads you.
I love it.
Yes.
Andrea, thank you so much for joining this episode. This is such an amazing conversation. And I really do feel that everyone listening to this and being a part of this experience now understands and see that a pivot can be designed. It doesn't have to fall in your lap. You don't have to just react to it. You can design a pivot in your life that is aligned with who you are in that season, not just who you have to be. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. Of course, you know, it's my favorite topic. So I'm glad I could be here. So
no, this is so good. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to sit with us and have this conversation. And remember, we are designing a life that we want to live. We're not drifting into whatever comes our way. And this is How Do You Divine? See you on the next one. We are 2 episodes into Clarity, the first movement of the season. And next week, we do something we do only 3 times this season. We stick up in, pause, and arc. Plant a flag of culture and talk about something we do every day without ever calling it what it is. If you grew up in a Caribbean household or amongst people of the diaspora, you might already feel what's coming. That's all I'm giving you. See you on Sunday.